Welcome back to another episode of That Sound Podcast. And if you love music, you're in the right place. Today we are going to be taking the next plunge into Thin Lizzy. We did cover already, Luke, the three-piece era, but now we're talking about the big dog, the four-piece iconic era that everybody knows about. Brian Downey, Brian Robertson, Scott Gorham, and the one and only Phil Lynott. It was a blast going through these albums again, Luke. You took Nightlife, I took Jailbreak, and Bad Reputation. And Bad Reputation kind of has, it's a kind of a, there's ins and outs. It's not the iconic four piece, but there is other elements on it. But overall, right, it's a massive shift from the three piece. You took Nightlife first. What did you think straight away? How it adapted with this new sound?
I thought Nightlife was class. It was an album that I definitely didn't appreciate when I was younger. I think I had mentioned that to you before, or maybe I'd said it in the review. It was the thing that, Jailbreak was definitely one that stood out. The mainstream ones of The Boys Are Back in Town, running back from the Unpussed ad, that always reminds me of that. And there's another couple of iconic ones, be it Warriors, be it Fight or Fall, I actually used to love all the time. Cowboy Song, of course, and Emerald. You're like, that's what you associated with Thin Lizzy. Dancing in the Moonlight then as well, off Bad Reputation. You're like, those were the ones that you thought of straight away when Thin Lizzy was mentioned. But in regards to Nightlife, I really liked it. I have a newfound appreciation for it and have found a new love for it. I found myself listening back to it. I think that there are some tracks in it that will show you that they were still trying to find their sound.
Yeah.
The ad of the dual guitars, the addition of the dual guitarists was massive. It was a huge step up. And the two lads found their way around each other, or found a way to be cohesive and not get in each other's way very quickly.
Yeah, I have to agree that they really complemented each other. They didn't get in each other's lane. They knew what they were good at, and they knew how to carry a song, and they didn't cross paths.
Exactly. Sort of reminiscent of a Ronnie Wood and Keith Richards union within the Rolling Stones. Brian Robertson and Scott Gorham just struck it off and were amazing on the track together, and really brought a new element of music to the rock genre.
Yeah, no, it was great. You definitely could see, listening to Nightlife, for me, I found, and what I love about this podcast is going back over these albums, like you said already, where you might hear something like, God, I don't know why I didn't give this enough appreciation, and you go back and you listen to it, and you can hear the bones of what's coming. You can hear the bones of, let's just say, Jailbreak, which was the most iconic one. You can see the elements, like you said already, the dual guitar, the drumming, man.
The drumming's unreal, especially on Nightlife. You can see that there are certain elements of it where Brian really lays into the pocket. And then you can also see where the fusion's starting to come out. He's letting his chops loose, but everything's musical. They're so rhythmic. I feel those four musicians would have fitted into any band as session players, especially Brian Downey as a drummer. Like, he would have earned a spot in any rock band back in the day. But for example, just to quote what you mentioned, or back it up, Gavin, with, you can see the bones of certain songs or their sound. Like, think of It's Only Money has now become one of my favourite offcuts, or what should I say, one that floats under the radar for most. And that riff is just unbelievable. You're like, they added to that. They give that a jag of Trenbolone, or they give it a jag of stuff, and it got the next sound that we're all familiar with.
Yeah, and okay, like, we can talk briefly on production and stuff like that. Like, you have to remember, like, when Nightlife came out, like, they weren't by any means known on the scene. They were still trying to get on the scene, and even moving into the likes of Fighting. For me, I have a similar story to yourself, where I really found a new love for that album. Similar, I would have skipped through it younger. I think we all had that Wild One greatest hits album. We knew all the big hits, but like going into the deep cuts now, and like I really think that if Thin Lizzy were known more, or maybe they got Visconti as the producer with the material that they had for fighting, I think fighting would have brought them to break that American trend. I think they would have broke in there. I think what they had in Phil's songwriting, in Downey's drumming, in the boys' guitars and fighting, I think is absolutely brilliant. But
Did you think that was a massive step up, Gavin,
yeah,
from Nightlife? In your opinion, it was like they were really starting to strike it.
yes, but production let them down. It's rough, it's rough. The bass is very high in parts. The drum sound isn't fantastic. But again, you have to remember nobody really knew them, and they were still trying to get on the scene. But that material was brilliant. The
It
fo-
it was very good. Like Rosalie, still to this day, is one of my favorite Thin Lizzy tracks.
yeah,
Wild One always has a place in your heart. Just that
yeah,
dual guitar intro.
yeah. But for those who love to live, and I only recently learned from doing the review, was about George Best and listening back.
That was the one.
Yeah, that one really, I think the groove, the swing, Phil's delivery, he just had an aura about him. Even not even, obviously, we're too young to see him on stage, but you can even feel his aura by listening to the songs. You knew he had something.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that you can see that best, or that is captured best at the Sydney Opera House show in '76.
Look towards him.
And I think I had sent you one clip in particular that I included in the Nightlife review, or one of them. The For Still in Love with You, and Gary's playing with them live at that stage. The camera pans just to Phil's side as the Opera House is in the background, and the bridge is in the background too, and you can see the crowd, and he's just at home. He's so chill, he's so relaxed, he's so himself. She said just the aura surrounding him is
Yeah.
next level. And you know what, Gavin, that reminded me of? I'm sure that Metallica, but James Hetfield in particular, being a big fan of Phil Lynott, I'd say he was a frontman that he studied quite a lot. I
Yeah.
would say so.
I'd say so, yeah. Yeah. Same with Kirk Hammett, I think, too. Like, he obviously had a big love of Gary, especially who was in and out at this time as well, and the boys. But yeah, like, definitely going back over these albums, you can see the progression of Phil when we look at the early albums where he was more kind of poetic and he wasn't really the front man. He didn't learn how to be a front man yet. But I think when we get to fighting, I think that's when he learns. And then it moves into obviously Jailbreak and Johnny the Fox. But even into like Bad Reputation, the video for Bad Reputation, he's there, it's the leather pants, the shirt open, and it's like,
That's
okay,
um
we have a bad reputation, but you know what? Deal with it. You
it
know,
was embracing the rock star life, and it wasn't the image, it was him.
yeah, it
You're
was like
starting to just be yourself. He's being a rock star.
embracing it.
Uh, what video did I send you last week? He was walking out of the house in Crumlin, just sauntering,
Yeah,
dressed as groovy, as cool as anything, smoking the fag,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, as nonchalant as you can get.
Yeah, no, they were brilliant. And look, we have to talk about Jailbreak too. Like, what an album. Warriors, Emerald, Boys Are Back in Town, Jailbreak.
Cowboy Song,
Yeah.
Jailbreak, Fight or Fall. You got Angel from the Coast, Romeo and the Lonely Girl, Running Back.
But brilliant album, right? But we have to touch on what happened. And they were so, what word shall I use? My dog is growling here, sorry. Um, I'm not going to say misfortunate, but silly. Let's just say it's silly. Brian Robinson, you're on the verge of breaking America. You go out and get pissed, smash your hand open, the tours and shit. Phil gets hepatitis. It's just like it just wasn't meant to be or something. I don't know. Like they had everything. They had the elements. They had one of the best drummers in Europe, possibly the world, top 10 at that time.
At
And
that time, yeah,
yeah,
he definitely
100%.
up there.
Phil was definitely in the top five frontmen. 100% at that time. He had it all. He was different. He had the swagger. He embraced it. He had that aura. He pulled you in. His lyrics were brilliant. He could bring you along on a trip like Emerald, or you could go on a ride and like be a backseat passenger on songs like Borderline and them kind of slower tracks. He had you in the palm of his hand, but it just was like, look, we all know what the outcome was with drugs and alcohol and addiction and all that stuff, and maybe that was just meant to be, or maybe that's the way they wanted to be. When you look at tracks like Warriors and Phil's songwriting, and you know he was battling the whole way through, and maybe that's where the art came from and the lyrics came from a lot of these songs. But I just feel like they were so close. They are a worldwide known band, but I feel they could have been bigger.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's one of those things too, Gavin, isn't it, that they definitely became bigger after
Mm,
they had disbanded. After the death of Phil, then the lore of Phil Lynott, the lore of Thin Lizzy became a lot more prevalent. And then as years went on, there was a lot of nostalgia surrounding Thin Lizzy, and it almost made them more popular.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. They probably weren't as big at the time as they are, or what is thought of them now. I don't know. I wasn't about. I know they were huge for people in Ireland, but
Yeah.
as you said, in regards to breaking the States, they were so close on many occasions, but just couldn't get it across the line.
Yeah, but you have to remember, like, they were supporting Queen. They were supporting big, big bands. They were on lineups with the biggest and the best as well. They were mingling with the biggest and the best. But I just think, like I said, I just think the personality just took over, and the bad reputation took over.
Sometimes I wonder, is it an element of self-sabotage also?
Yeah.
With the pressures to do with that and bits and pieces, that when you act out, or
Mm.
then you have something to point the finger at if it doesn't go your way.
Yeah, and like we always hear them stories too, but the band, let's say when we move into the later albums where they just really didn't get on and it was almost a job. And I've heard and I've listened to interviews with like Brian Downey and stuff like that where drugs were prevalent in the band and some of them tried it. I remember listening to Brian Downey saying, yeah, I tried it too, but it just wasn't for me. Like, and he left it. And then like Brian Robertson and Gorham, they were taking it, and Phil was taking it, and it was just a pity. It's just sad. I felt doing this recap, myself and yourself going through these albums and listening to Phil, and obviously his songwriting, it made me sad. It really did.
Yeah, he's so honest. I
Yeah,
think that's where he grabs the listener most. And a lot of people, I suppose, at the time could relate to certain struggles,
yeah,
especially in the time. And his lyrics are perennial, they're timeless.
yeah, yeah.
They're timeless, that even now you can relate to a lot of the things that he was singing about.
Yeah, like right, you look at like the cowboy warriors, right, and it's kind of like he almost was embracing the addiction and almost saying that he was on this path of destruction, and then you have like Johnny the Fox and Jimmy the Weed, where it's a bit more comedic, and it's still a story of a guy going to a drug dealer and that kind of thing, and then you have like the opium trail and bad reputation, and it was always prevalent in their songwriting, the addiction and the want and the fight and trying to say it's a good thing and then trying to say it's a bad thing. That's why I felt sad because he was battling for like 10 years, you know?
Yeah, it was just a slippery slope.
But they
You
were
know,
they were brilliant. They were so good.
it was class. And going on from Jailbreak, then we get to Johnny the Fox.
Mm.
And Johnny the Fox has two of my favorite songs on it. Like, I wouldn't be a lover of the album as a whole, but Borderline and Don't Believe a Word have been two of my favorite Thin Lizzy songs for forever nearly.
I like Johnny. I like Johnny. Yeah, yeah. I think it's pretty cool too.
You and Johnny's good mates.
Yeah, me and Johnny. But like the pressure of coming off Jailbreak too, like I guess it wasn't easy. Like I guess when you think about the pressure of Jailbreak, where they were told, right boys, it's shit or twist here, and they got Jailbreak out, and you hear the stories where but the boys are back in town might not have made it, but I think it was one of the producers said, "What was that track there? The boys
Yeah,
or yeah,
can't believe that. What was the story we had done in our first review of it? It wasn't going to be the boys were back in town. There was something
yeah."
else.
It's at the start of that video that I done on Jailbreak. Scott Gorham says that yeah, it was one of the producers come in. I think it was called "The Boys Are Back" or something, and then they were doing the whiteboard or whatever. Right, this is the track, and this is the bees or whatever, and can we swap and what's making it to the album? And I think it was one of the sound engineers or maybe the producer said, why you not taking that one?" They're like, "Yeah, I don't know." And they're like, "No, you need that one. That's a hit. Work on that." And then Phil twisted it a bit and made it from "The Boys Are Back" to "The Boys Are Back in Town." And I think it was a similar story. I'm not sure. Leave a comment down below if I'm wrong here, but I believe it's a similar story to like Enter Sandman, where it was like, they had a riff and it was like, no, no, do that bit twice and that bit once. I think it was similar to that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar. But yeah, Johnny the Fox. Right, we're talking about the iconic four piece. For me, I think now I know Brian Robinson doesn't really feature on Bad Reputation. 3 tracks, I believe. But I'd take Johnny the Fox over Bad Reputation.
Ooh, yeah. Good point. I would take Bad Reputation over Johnny the Fox.
Yeah, yeah. That's why music's so good because it hits us differently and everybody, finds something in every album. That's just me. It doesn't mean I'm right. And I love that. I love that different albums hit different people different ways.
Is that you really admitting that you're not right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Only
But
winded you.
but I think if Thin Lizzy had Visconti as a producer and he produced Fighting, I think Fighting would be just as good as Jailbreak.
100%. Yeah, if the production had been better, Fighting and Jailbreak, one after the other,
Brilliant.
the trajectory of the band could have been completely different.
Yeah, yeah. They just needed that early break a little bit earlier, and I think Sky was the limit for them.
Sometimes I wonder, Gavin, when you look at Johnny the Fox and Bad Reputation, like for some of the songs that were different or the lesser known songs, I feel like you would have got one unbelievable album out of the best of both.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Bobo here. He does be on with us the odd time from Dublin, and Bobo loves Thin Lizzy. And this is Bobo's, not mine or not your take on Thin Lizzy. He loves Thin Lizzy, and I have to kind of back him up here. Thin Lizzy, in Bobo's words, have never had a complete album. And I kind of agree with him. From start to finish, there's no flawless album. There's always one or two.
Yeah, I would tend to slightly disagree, as you know, probably with two albums being Jailbreak for me is flawless start to finish. Like I'm a fan of Fight or Fall, Romeo and the Lonely Girl, Angel from the Coast.
Hmm.
I do get what you mean. There's some songs that don't fit, like the palette or the flavor the whole way down. It's like something's a wee bit off here. It's like, oh,
Boogie,
this is
Boogie Woogie like
on Johnny the Fox. I would think,
what was that?
the one that's sitting behind me here, the Black Rose to me is absolutely perfect. I know there's a lot of stuff on it that you're like, get out of here. And we'll discuss that in the next one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes too.
Yeah.
But I'd have to disagree with yourself and Bobo just for those two.
Hmm.
But with the other albums, I would agree there's not one fully complete one. But very authentic to themselves.
Hmm.
As we've discussed before, they wanted to express themselves and they were going to release what they wanted.
Oh,
They weren't bowing to no record label or no producer that was like, hey, you can't do that because it's not. It's like, look, this is us. This is what it is. This is what you're getting.
yeah, no, brilliant band. I honestly believe they're obviously they don't have what should I say, the awards and the notability of the likes of U2, but I think individually, I know we have some Scottish guys and some American guys, but they were an Irish band. Let's call them an Irish band.
Yes, they were an Irish band.
They were the best band ever in this country, Ireland.
I couldn't agree more. And that's no disrespect to you too. And they definitely don't have the same notoriety as you two.
No,
But I would take them every day and twice on a Sunday over you two.
yeah, yeah. Like you have to say U2's the most successful band to ever leave Ireland. But individually, I think musicians, Brian Downey doesn't get enough credit, man. He's so
And still ripping it up for a man that's in his late 70s. Like we went to see his band, Brian Downey's Alive and Dangerous, last year, their final show, by the way.
mm,
And by God, can that man play?
yeah. It was an honor to see him in action. You know, when you think about everything that he done and everything that he's been through, and brilliant. It was a joy to see him. It really was. But onwards and upwards, Luke. We're rolling into, as you say, you have Black Rose next, and I'm rolling into Chinatown. So there's definitely more Thin Lizzy on the way. Hope you guys are enjoying our little run through Thin Lizzy. I know I am, Luke.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to go back over some of the albums that we looked over or glanced over or rolled our eyes at in previous years and come up with a newfound appreciation for the deep cuts of Thin Lizzy.
100%. What do you want to see us diving deep into next? Leave a comment down below. What band do you want us to go through every album? Give our twist on each album. What's up next? Stick around. There's more Tin Lizzy coming your way very soon. Thanks for watching, and we catch you in the next one.
Good luck.